Hello and welcome once again to another edition of Pray on This. I'm your host, John Pray. Before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, or join me on Rumble. After all, we live in Justin Trudeau's Bill C-11 era, which is no longer that. It is the Internet Broadcast Act, because it now has gained royal assent. That was so important that instead of having it in the proper ceremony that we normally have, where the Governor General signs the act into law, no. This one here was rushed that the very day that it passed Parliament, it was rushed over to the Supreme Court, where the Chief Justice of Canada signed it into law. Kind of just a little unorthodox for a law dealing with the internet? Or is it a little bit more nefarious? Is it exactly what we said? That Justin wants to control not only the internet, but the information that gets out so that nothing bad about him gets out there. Well, I'm sorry, Justin, it's too damn late. For those who think that this Michael Chong Chinese interference, where the Chinese government was threatening Michael Chong because of a vote he cast that stated that what the Chinese government was doing to the Uyghurs is a genocide. If you think it's nothing, if you think that, oh, this will go away, Chong is lying, he was briefed 2 years ago, there's nothing to see here, you're wrong. The fact of the matter is that someone's lying. Someone's lying big time. Now, I really want to know, is it Katie Telfer who's lying? Because she said at committee that the Prime Minister gets every security briefing from CSIS, even if it's a small, insecure matter. He reads everything that he gets from CSIS, and that he's supposed to get anything on election interference or foreign interference. Is it Judy Thomas, his national security advisor, who said that the Chong issue was so big that CSIS not only reported it to the Prime Minister, but also reported it directly to the Privy Council, which, if you don't know, is Justin Trudeau's ministry. So there's no possibility that he didn't know about this, and it was long before Monday when the story broke in the Globe and Mail. No. This scandal is bigger than it's bigger than SNC-Lavalin, it's worse than blackface. How do you ask? This is the Canadian Prime Minister who knew that a Canadian citizen, and not just an ordinary citizen, which would be bad enough, but a member of Parliament being threatened, not only himself, but his family being threatened by a foreign power. Now, to be clear, Mr. Chong's family, part of it on his father's side, still lives in Hong Kong, which is under the control of the Chinese government. We also know that this is a government that truly doesn't believe in the rule of law. They think that the Human Rights Code put out by the United Nations is something that can be used in the bathroom when there's a lack of toilet paper. In other words, they just don't give a damn. They have been known to torture citizens, beat citizens, and kill citizens for absolutely no reason. And they put Mr. Chong under sanctions for voting the way that he did. And then they started to threaten his family. Our Prime Minister knew about this, and he's known about it for a while, but he did nothing. If you take a look at this scandal, the way that it is developed, first, nothing to see here. No, there's no interference by a foreign power in any way, shape, or form. That's back in the fall. Then around Christmas, it was, well, there might have been a little bit of interference, but nothing to worry about. Then things started to break in the Globe and Mail. Then it was, well, there was election interference from a foreign power. We always are fighting this, but it wasn't enough to change an election. Oh, well, a couple of MPs probably lost their seats. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, conservative MPs lost their seats. And yeah, it was probably the result of Chinese election interference, but it wasn't enough to change the results of the election. We'd still be the government. Oh, don't look at that $200,000 donation to the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. Don't look at that $750,000 to the University of Montreal. Oh, don't look at that 50 grand for a statue of my dad. To now, we're seeing that the Chinese government is so much into interfering in our governmental affairs that they are willing to risk, willing to risk intimidation tactics and threats against a sitting member of parliament. If they'll do that, what are they doing to Chinese Canadians who've been here 15, 20 years, who don't act the way that they want? Do they just take them into one of their police stations, information stations, which are totally illegal, which are still operating, even though the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and the Public Safety Minister, Marco Mendicino, and the Justice Minister, David Lametti, all say they've been all shut down. And yet, as late as Tuesday of this week, we still know of 2 of them operating in Montreal and 1 operating in Toronto. Why is this all going on? There's a raging fire somewhere because we can see tons of black smoke. And this here is not a kid with a smoke bomb. It's not a DJ with a smoke machine. No, this is a raging fire, a raging dumpster fire of liberal corruption. And we know what it is. The Chinese government has been working since 2014 to get Justin Trudeau elected as our prime minister and to keep him in power. Why? Because he has an admiration for their basic dictatorship. They know that he is a weak simp of a man. They know that with him in power, that they can do things in a foreign country that is the neighbor of their largest adversary, the United States, and that they can work here unimpugned without anybody looking over their shoulder so that they can forward their interests. The trade-off? They do everything they can to keep Justin Trudeau and his brand of liberal politics in power. Well, we speak about his brand of liberal politics. I didn't watch all of it. Quite truthfully, I would have been physically ill if I had been forced to watch that man give his keynote address last night at Liberal 2023. However, I caught good parts of it. The man sounded, well, at times, like a child. At other times, a complete and total idiot. And he looked scared. However, he told all liberals everywhere that he is going to lead them into the next election. Well, I've done a little research. No prime minister has ever won 4 straight elections. There have been prime ministers who have won 4 elections, but never 4 straight. And if we take a look at the way Justin's falling in the polls, and we take a look at this scandal and how it's developing, well, it's got outside the bubble of Ottawa. It's got outside where the regular people, not the political junkies like myself, not those who are up on the hill, who live, breathe, and sleep politics 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No, this is just the regular public in Woodstock, Ontario, in Lethbridge, Alberta, Kamloops, British Columbia, or St. John's, Newfoundland. Everybody is waking up now to just how wrong Trudeau's government is. The odds of him winning another election grow smaller by the day. Even in Toronto now, 15 of the seats are in play. That hasn't happened in probably 3 decades. The time has come for us to really take a look as to who's running our country. For 8 years, we have had a child who says all the right things. And even if we go over what he said last night, attacking Pierre Poilievre because he doesn't believe in gender balance in cabinets. I remember when Trudeau was elected and he had a perfectly gender balanced cabinet. And when he was asked why, he said, because it's 2015. He ignored questions that he had taken from a pool on the female side, which was a much smaller pool of talent than on the male side. He just sloughed it off. And then what he proceeded to do over the next 4 years is any woman of any real talent in his cabinet, he pushed them off to the side or pushed them right out of caucus and right out of politics. Miss Chavez, Miss Wilson-Raybould, Ms. Philpott, just to name a few. He has demoted women within his cabinet and promoted men to the point that today there are 39 members of cabinet and there's only 15 women. Not very gender balanced anymore, Justin. When he talked about how we're there for Canadians' backs and everything else, what he really he sloughed off his responsibility in how the economy's doing and blamed world sources. And then he said that Pierre Poilievre attacks both our official languages. Well, you're a liar, Justin. You know you're a liar. You know the game is up. I can't wait for this man to actually call an election. And I can't wait to do another one of these the day after an election as I step out freshly showered and shaved from a rain of liberal tears. Because, Justin, you're going to lose. That, as always, is Pray on This.